Good afternoon and welcome. I'm pleased to declare the 2013 commencement for the Quinnipiac University School of Law officially open. Would you please stand for the invocation, which will be delivered by Andrew Ober, Protestant chaplain.
First of all, I want to say welcome to all the moms and happy Mother's Day. We're grateful for you. Let's begin our time in prayer. God, as we come to this celebration, we thank you for your steadfast love and faithfulness throughout the generations, for this university and law school and their commitment to knowledge, to compassion, and to justice, for faculty who have challenged us, for staff who have served us and often gone unnoticed, for administrators who made sure we were here today and every day, for parents, especially our moms, friends and family whose love supports and sustains us and inspires us, for the benefit of this education, for these students whose hard work and commitment have brought them here today. In the Hebrew Bible and Old Testament, there is a tradition of building altars to mark times of God's blessing as we embark upon new journeys. I pray that this ceremony is our altar. We ask for your blessing, O God, as we gather to celebrate what has happened before and the new journey we embark upon. We give thanks for years of hard work. Today, remind us of our calling. Renew in us a passion for justice and truth, and give us joyful and thankful hearts for all that we have been through and all that we will do. You have brought us to this day of celebration, and we pray that you would be here, that you would bless it, and you would bless us all. Amen.
Please be seated. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of our platform party, which consists of our speaker and honorary degree recipient, whom you'll meet in a few moments, university administrators, and the deans and faculty of the School of Law. It's my pleasure to introduce Brad Saxton, Dean of the School of Law.
Thank you, and welcome to all of you. We are so delighted to have you here with us in this celebration of our graduates. But at this time, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you Dr. John L. Leahy, the president of the university, who will extend greetings to you on behalf of the university.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to all of you on this wonderful day of joy and celebration. To our law school graduates, I extend my heartiest congratulations to each and every one of you. You should all feel very proud of your accomplishments and the well-deserved recognition you will be receiving today. The class of 2013 is arguably the best ever to come through the Quinnipiac University School of Law. And many of you have already accepted offers from prestigious law firms or judicial clerkships with some of the best minds in the legal profession. One of today's graduates, Desmond Ryan, served as this year's editor-in-chief of the Quinnipiac Law Review and received the Dean's Award for his exceptional service to the School of Law. I enjoyed working with Desmond in his role as a member of the board of Quinnipiac Center for Excellence in Teaching and Service to Students. And I'm pleased to share that Des will be clerk for Connecticut Supreme Court Justice Dennis Everly, whom we are honored to have as our commencement speaker today. I also want to recognize your Student Bar Association president, David Norman, who provided outstanding leadership and made significant contributions in representing the student concerns to the university administration. David competed in the ABA National Appellate Advocacy Competition, the New York Regional, where he was specifically recognized as the second best overall advocate. The Quinnipiac University School of Law is advancing both in terms of academic quality and national recognition. These achievements are clearly a consequence of the exceptional work of our law faculty and the leadership of Dean Brad Saxton and our Dean of Admissions, Ed Wilkes. In the final analysis, though, a law school, like any other school, will be judged best by its graduates. And so, members of the class of 2013, we are depending on you to make the best use possible of the education you have received at the Quinnipiac University School of Law. You have already left a significant mark on our School of Law, and I have no doubt that you will leave an even greater mark on the world that awaits you. Again, my congratulations and best wishes to each and every one of you.
Thank you, President Leahy. And as always, please know how grateful we are at the law school for the university's continuing support. We're very, very grateful. So welcome to graduating students, family members, friends, distinguished guests. It's such a privilege to have you here with us today. I want to say a special thanks on behalf of the law school faculty and administration to those who have supported our students during this journey that they have taken here. Some of our students make this journey largely relying on themselves, but many more of them have gotten wonderful emotional support, friendship, financial support from family members, from friends, significant others, from the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day. And I wanted to give our graduating class an opportunity to applaud and thank the family members and others who have supported you through this. So for me, this is a unique opportunity to get to address you guys. This is probably, almost certainly, the last time that all of you will be together as a group, and the last chance that I will have to address you all as a group. I got to do that at orientation for you. But for my remarks, there are really three major points I wanted to make. The first by way of thanks, the second by way of encouragement, and closing with whatever words of advice that I might offer. So first, the thanks. Thanks to all of you, and congratulations for your hard work. We all know how much you put into this, and you have contributed so enormously to our community while you've been here. So on behalf of the faculty and the administration, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it. Encouragement. Some of you, as the President noted, already know what you'll be doing next year and have accepted positions. Many of you are still looking for those positions. And so some encouragement to those who are still looking. 4 points here. In recent years, many of our graduates on graduation day are still figuring out what they're going to be doing afterwards. A lot of them are waiting until bar results. Lots of employers out there are waiting until bar results. And so we've seen in recent years that very often our graduates don't know yet on graduation, but the vast majority of them, very many of them, are finding out into the fall as bar results come in. So pass the bar. And one of the hard things about this graduation is you all have to go back to studying for the bar tomorrow, but today is for celebration. So, second point by way of the encouragement, some of you may have accepted positions that weren't exactly what you thought you would be doing or what you think you'd like to be doing down the road. By way of encouragement, again, when I talk to our alums who are now 2 years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, many of them have sort of taken a couple of different positions as they found the right place to settle down for the longer term. So just know that's a common path for our graduates going out there doing sort of a range of different things before settling down for kind of the longer term somewhere. And then hopeful signs. Hopeful signs is that things really seem to be turning around. We're getting much better returns and reports than we received before. So please be encouraged. And the last point, we have great confidence in you and great confidence in the mastery that you have achieved in your time here and the success that you will have and the impression that you will make in the bar. So, last point. Advice, and I will confess this, for me this is a very, always feels like a privilege to get to introduce you, and I always feel like I want to say, can I tell you the most important thing that I know? Can I tell you the wisest thing that I know? And so I will tell you what I think maybe the wisest thing that I know is, and I'm going to caution you to beware of what I call the trap. The trap. And the trap for me can be summed up in the phrase, I'll be happy once I get there. If you focus too much on the destination, very often you won't enjoy the journey fully. Let me say that again. If you focus too much on the destination, you will not enjoy the journey fully. And I think this is a challenge for all of us in modern culture, but it's especially true for the profession that you have chosen. This trap of sort of thinking, I just have to get through this next thing and then I can settle down and be happier, then I'll relax. And it starts for many of you before you even started law school, but it continues here. So it becomes, once I get through first year exams, once I get through Micklejohn's UCC exam, but then it becomes, well, once I graduate, and then it becomes, well, once I pass the bar, and then it becomes, well, once I make partner, and then it becomes, well, once I've bought my first BMW. There's this tendency in this profession, it's a task-driven profession, and there's this tendency to sort of get wrapped up in the task of the moment and to commit yourself fully to it and to sort of think, okay, I'm having to leave other things for the side, but once I get through this next task, then I'll be okay. Then I can relax, and then I'll spend time with family, or then I'll spend time with friends, or then I'll read that good book I was going to read, or then I'll take that pro bono case I've been planning to take along the way. And you turn around and all of a sudden you're 40, or you turn around or you're 50, and you realize that you may have spent years and years and years and years just finishing that next task and putting off all those other important things until you can find time to do them. So I confess to you that I wrestle with this myself constantly. How do you confront it? My best advice to you is to be mindful of it, be thoughtful about what it is that you value most, what you really care about most. And I think for many of you, as you look at that, you'll think of family members back there, you'll think of your friends, you'll think of your community and service to the community, you'll think about the need for us as professionals to serve in pro bono, you'll think of friendship and fun. You'll think of fun. So I hope for you, my best hope for you is that you will be mindful of that you will think hard about what it is that you care most about, and that you'll make that a priority and not just keep pushing it off to the next time down the road when maybe you can find time to do it. I hope that for you. So before I close, a request of you, please keep in touch with us. We want to be in touch with you. Our friendship with you, you as members of our community, continue as members of our community, and we will do everything we can to help you in the coming months. As you're looking for what you're going to do, please keep in touch. Let us know how we can help. Our commitment to you does not end today. So, congratulations, best wishes to all of you, and we have great confidence in the success and satisfaction that you will have in this profession, and we are delighted to welcome you to it. Thank you. This time I'd like to invite Justice Evely, Professor Farrell, Senior Vice President Thompson, and President Leahy to come forward.
Dennis Evely, you were appointed an Associate Justice on the Connecticut Supreme Court in 2010 after a distinguished legal career as practitioner and trial judge. After graduating cum laude from the University of Connecticut School of Law, you served as a first lieutenant in the United States Army before beginning your career as a trial counsel at a Bridgeport, Connecticut law firm. In 1985, you opened your own practice in Stamford. During these years, you also served the state as an attorney trial referee, arbitrator, mediator, and as a special master in federal court. Advancing to the Superior Court in 1998, you presided over criminal, housing, civil, and juvenile cases. You then served on the complex litigation docket in Waterbury Superior Court for 5 years before being appointed Chief Administrative Judge, Civil Division in 2009. You handled intricate and technically difficult legal matters without losing sight of the humanity of those who appeared before you. Former Governor M. Jody Rowe recognized the quality of your work by nominating you to the state Supreme Court the following year. You demonstrated your commitment to the education of future lawyers by serving as the Chief Justice for Quinnipiac's moot court final bench competition last fall. Our students benefit from the wisdom you bestow from the bench. In recognition of your steadfast devotion to justice and your willingness to help future lawyers attain the experience they need to succeed, the Quinnipiac University School of Law is pleased to confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws this 12th day of May, 2013.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations, Justice.
Justice Evely, we are so honored to have you here with us. Your career is an inspiration to our graduating students about what the service in this profession can be. So thank you for being with us, and we welcome you for your remarks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Leahy, Senior Vice President Thompson, Dean Saxton, incoming Dean Brown, Associate Dean King, Quinnipiac Administration and School of Law faculty, honored guests, graduates, families, and friends. And to all mothers in the audience, including my mother and my wife, happy Mother's Day. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you today on this most important and joyful occasion. I'm especially honored to receive the honorary degree you have graciously conferred upon me. I salute all of you today for your years of hard work and sacrifice which have culminated in this moment. I also salute the sacrifice and efforts of your parents, significant others, and those whose efforts and support help guide you to this day. I congratulate your professors and administrators for the excellent job they performed to prepare you for your career as a lawyer. Having employed some Quinnipiac graduates, I can speak with firsthand knowledge of the excellence of their work. Seeing all of you reminds me of a story. When I was a young lawyer, just a few years ago, whenever I was finished for the day in court, I would go over to other courtrooms and observe attorneys that I admired, to watch them perform in court and act as trial lawyers in the hopes that I would learn something and improve myself as a trial lawyer. One day I was watching an attorney try a case which involved a homeowner's claim for an insurance recovery of stolen works of art. The central issue in the case was the value of the artwork. So expert testimony was key to this determination. And as you can imagine, there was a wide disparity between the expert opinions on each side. When I observed the case, the plaintiff's expert was on the stand for the third day and was getting frustrated with the probing and entirely proper cross-examination of the defense attorney. Finally, in response to the defense attorney's question, the plaintiff's expert became completely exasperated, threw his hands in the air and said, "I don't know the answer to that question. What do you think I am, an expert?" When I saw the plaintiff's attorney outside the courtroom after the incident, he said to me, "Why did I go into law?" Today, I hope to offer some answers and suggestions to you regarding that question. Obviously, foremost, it's much better than being an expert witness. Based upon my experience of 41 years, I can assure you that you have chosen a great and honorable profession that will allow you to both help and enhance the lives of hundreds, perhaps thousands of people. The years have also taught me some valuable lessons in the manner in which to comport oneself, which I would like to share with you on this special occasion. First, I emphasize that in the law, as in life, your credibility is everything. You have nothing if you do not have a good reputation. As Aristotle said, moral excellence comes about as a result of habit. We become just by doing just acts, temperate by doing temperate acts, and brave by doing brave acts. Put another way, you must live by your word. Always keep the promise you make to another lawyer, the promise to a client, and the promise of credibility and decency you should make to yourself. When I was a young lawyer, I started out arguing short calendar motions. In those dark ages, every motion was argued, and short calendar would also almost take all day long, almost every time we had it. It wouldn't be uncommon for me to have 25 to 50 motions to argue in the course of a day, albeit of short duration. When we weren't arguing motions, we would sit and watch other attorneys argue their motions, and it wouldn't be uncommon for people who are involved in your cases to come up to you and ask if a certain motion could go off. And most of those times, that was agreed upon. One day, while I was at short calendar on other matters, I noticed an attorney who had previously requested that my motion be marked off proceed to argue the motion before the judge in my absence and ask that the judge deny my motion. Fortunately for me and my client, I was present in the courtroom and indicated that the motion was supposed to go off by agreement, and I was surprised counsel was going forward. It was distressing to me that an attorney would misrepresent himself in such a manner, but it taught me a valuable lesson. It also greatly detracted from the reputation of the attorney with whom I had many dealings. Fortunately, in my career, this was a rare occurrence, and when it did occur, it afforded another lesson. Do not let the conduct of another attorney affect your conduct. If an attorney is behaving unsatisfactorily in the courtroom, it does not excuse you to deviate from your own concepts of fairness. As a judge for almost 15 years, I can tell you that judges recognize when someone is not playing by the rules and the other attorney has not responded in kind. It may be hard to do so, but many a career is enhanced by doing the right thing. I contrast the story which I just relayed to you with another personal experience that illustrates the rewards of civility. As a young trial lawyer, I lost my first 5 jury cases. I thought that my career was over before it even started. Indeed, I was fearful that I was quickly becoming the equivalent version of the Chicago Cubs of trial lawyers. One day, shortly after my 5th loss, the managing partner called me into his office. I actually thought I was about to be fired. Instead, he showed me a letter that was written to him by the very experienced attorney against whom I had just tried my last case. The attorney extolled my performance and actually predicted that I would become one of the finest trial lawyers in the state. He also told the partner that if they ever thought of discharging me, to give him a call and he would hire me right away. I had been greatly discouraged by the losses. However, this one letter provided me with the confidence to keep trying cases. And eventually, I even won one against the same lawyer. My hope is that sometime in your career, you may assist a young lawyer in the unselfish manner in which I have been served. However, the breadth of civility should not only extend to colleagues. You should treat everyone you encounter with civility and respect. This sounds obvious and perhaps like a mere vapid platitude, but adhering to the concept will serve you well in your careers. I offer a true story to support my proposition. I had the good fortune to start my career working for the person whom many consider to be the finest trial lawyer in the history of the state of Connecticut, David Goldstein. When he was a state senator in the 1930s, Mr. Goldstein chaired a commission and panel to improve the conditions of Connecticut's psychiatric hospitals. As such, he toured all of the state's mental facilities. During one of the visits, Mr. Goldstein suspected that he was not receiving the entire picture. And as the doctors guided him and the other commission members down the hall, he noticed a patient mopping the floor. He went up to the gentleman, shook his hand, introduced himself as a state senator, and asked whether it would be all right if he could ask him some questions about the conditions at the hospital. The man looked at him, put his arm around Mr. Goldstein and said, "It's okay, buddy. You're going to be all right. When I first got here, I thought I was George Washington." That was his favorite story, by the way. My point is that Mr. Goldstein represented people in all walks of life, and he always treated everyone the same. The motto of his firm was that everyone, rich or poor, who had a legitimate legal problem received representation from our firm. I suggest to you that this motto represents not only the best in our profession, but the exact right thing to do. It is the very essence of our profession to represent all people who require our services. Certainly, we have recognized that the Constitution requires it in criminal cases. We must ensure, however, through our efforts, that the spirit of the Constitution is assured in all areas of the law, and the way to accomplish this goal is through pro bono work. Pro bono service is not just a phrase that sounds nice and operates well when times are good. It is a concept which separates lawyers from most professions. The voluntary assistance to those in need will serve as an inspiration for you in your careers. By way of illustration, the most interesting person I met in my practice was someone whom I represented pro bono in a summary process matter. She had had a series of unfortunate events which had transformed her status in life from that of an admiral's wife living on an estate in Litchfield to that of a penniless widow. In 1933, she had been on the stage at Bayfront Park, Miami, Florida, when Mayor Cermak of Chicago was assassinated and Franklin Roosevelt was sitting next to her. She had still had fragments of one of the shots in her spine. I represented her during the course of a winter, trying to keep her in an apartment which she could no longer afford, until a friend was able to take her in the springtime. She would regale me with numerous stories about Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt, with whom she had been very friendly. And every time I saw her, she would bring me banana bread she made from scratch. I still think about her and the case. I can tell you that I never felt more like an attorney than when I represented her and was able to help her move in with her friend. These are the lawyer stories that many members of the public don't hear. And as you sit here today, you are entrusted with not only a degree, but a charge. And that charge is to improve through your conduct and your treatment of others the opinions of those who would disparage the legal profession. With the degree you receive, coupled with your subsequent passing of the bar exam, of which I have no doubt, you are empowered with the greatest of all privileges, the ability to help people. Indeed, our lives are truly measured, not by the bank accounts we have in existence on the day of reckoning, or the size of our house, or the quality or quantity of our cars. Your judgment will come in both the content of your character, your dedication to family, and your capacity to empathize and assist those you serve. You have the capacity to help many people and to do great things. The history of our country has established this fact. Lawyers have played and must continue to play key roles in securing the democracy and individual freedoms that distinguish our country from many of those in the world. It was lawyers who led the way to our independence and to the establishment of our system of government that provides us with the freedoms we enjoy today. We are the profession of Jefferson and Lincoln and Marshall. You carry on the tradition of those who have changed the landscape of this country. Indeed, many of the civil rights enjoyed by us today emanated from the toil of lawyers working in the 1950s and 1960s. However, respect for our profession must come first from within. If you do not respect the profession, people will not respect you. As former Chief Justice Warren Burger stated, lawyers who know how to think but have not learned how to behave are a menace and a liability, not an asset, to the administration of justice. One of the lawyer's principles of professionalism, adopted by the Connecticut Bar Association's House of Delegates in 1994, reminds us that civility and courtesy are the hallmarks of professionalism and should not be equated with weakness. In keeping with that principle, I hope that each of you will make a personal commitment throughout your legal career to help build respect for our profession and to recognize and affirm professional courtesy in the hopes that we can restore the credibility of and respect for our noble profession. As previously indicated, a legal profession should be more than a way to make a living. It should also provide the avenue for you to serve some higher conception of justice and the common good. Never lose your desire to make a difference. Many of your clients will come to you facing a crisis in their lives. The family being foreclosed and removed from their home. The workers' compensation client who is not receiving his checks and doesn't know how to support his family. The person injured in an auto accident who can no longer work to support the family. The person charged with a serious crime facing imprisonment. the parents whose parental rights are being terminated, and the list goes on. The young, the poor, the elderly, and the oppressed will knock on your door. You must answer the call and treat all with the dignity and respect with which you would wish to be treated. Your service will include not only counseling on a legal level, but through your efforts, an installation of hope. Always remember when the client walks in to see you that the client chose you above all the other attorneys listed in the state of Connecticut. Never denigrate a client because his or her case may not seem as important as another case which you are handling. Remember, the case is always the most important thing to that client. Always return your phone calls that day. Not to return a call is disrespectful to the client. Remember, the client may be in a situation where the case becomes his or her entire life. It is all they think about. You may have to be patient. Indeed, you may become the client's lifeline to stability. In short, as you look at your diploma tonight and think about your future career, I echo the words spoken by Tom Hanks to Matt Damon at the end of Saving Private Ryan. Earn this. I also urge you to always be a student of the law. You will find that your education is continuing. Today is truly a commencement, a beginning of the rest of your legal education. I learn new things about the law every day, even after 41 years in the profession. If you are not familiar with an area of the law, talk to a senior partner or go to a seminar on the subject. Search out other attorneys. Join young lawyers' associations where different problems are discussed. Your study should also continue while you are between jobs or looking for a new job. When I left my firm to practice on my own in Stanford, I explored the court system itself. There are numerous opportunities for jobs connected with the court system. You may wish to be a clerk or a temporary assistant clerk, or as I did, apply to be placed on lists for committees in foreclosure sales, or to serve as a guardian ad litem or counsel for minor children. Volunteer your time to help mediate foreclosures, or sign up to become a contract attorney in juvenile court. The court system now is offering training to young attorneys in various areas, and I urge you to sign up for these programs. The knowledge will help you develop additional skills and enhance your career opportunities. Additionally, you may be able to learn important lessons from attorneys representing the opposing parties in cases in which you are involved. Other mentors may include younger attorneys who may have developed an expertise in a particular area. I know that all of you are anxious to be with your families and enjoy the rest of this great day. So I'll leave you with the following story. I used to coach Little League when my children were very young. And in the young leagues, ages 6 to 8, everyone would bat in the order and everyone would play in the field. And also there was no mercy rule. So one day, as I'm coaching, it's about the 4th inning, and we're losing 15-0. And one of my players comes up to me and says, Coach, what's the score? I said, John, don't worry about the score. Just have fun and enjoy the game. He was very excited and again asked what the score was, and I gave the same answer. Just have fun. Finally, he asked again, and I told him that the score was 15-0. And he thought about that for a moment, looked at me and said, Coach, who's winning? So my final piece of advice, as so eloquently demonstrated by my young ball player, is to have fun, be happy. Never let your obsession with the score in your cases interfere with your enjoyment of your family and your life. However you define happiness, it is important to strike the balance between a desire to make a difference in your profession and society with doing what is best for your family. So that if you are asked, when your career is near an end, what was the score in terms of winning or losing cases, you may be able to say, it's not essential what the score was. I had fun, had the respect of my colleagues, did something really important with my life and made a difference in the lives of people who needed help. Good luck to all of you, and thank you for allowing me to share this occasion with you.
Thank you, Justice Eppley, for those truly inspiring remarks. Really appreciate it. It's my honor at this point to introduce Associate Dean David King, who will present the members of the graduating class for hooding.
The members of the graduating class have selected as their hooders my colleagues Professor Alexander Mickeljohn, Linda Meyer, and the Professor of the Year, Carrie Cass. Will you please come forward and take your places? Will the marshals please bring the candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor forward? David J. Norman. Rosalie Danielle Morgan. Alan D. Pettit. Sarah Frances Dadabo. Christiana L. Chiara. Alyssa Marie Weinbach. Laura M. Scher. Robert J. Vontel III. Alexander David Salvato. Michael E. Makowitz. Robert M. Bargy. Matthew Robert Bardos. Hope Helen Harris. Sean Michael Douglas. Rebecca Elaine Markley. Natalie Ann Zasoff. Alyssa Frances Caserta. Daniel Gurton. Robert Wojciechowski. Brianna Kastakevich. Patrick S. White. Christine L. Gertz. Michael C. Bavona. Richard Stannard III. Joshua P. Joy. Logan J. O'Connor. Elizabeth Louise Grimm. Lisa Tercio. Marissa L. Vicario. Jessica L. Vallette. Elisa M. Pulaski. Maura P. Crossan. Mona V. Shalat. Amita S. Patel. Thomas Richard Hollowell. Shane A. Matthew. Molly C. Sanford. Kevin A. Lucid. Evan Gaffey. Peter John Carpentier. Desmond M. Ryan. Peter V. Malfa. John A. Scarpa III. Gregory D. Friedrich. Evan Michael McBride. Samuel Allen Greenberg. Gregory Louis Borelli. Nicholas Edward Kale. Frisia Singnam. Kyle Stephen Walker. Teresa Gilbert. Mary Teresa Clark. John Kenneth Gamsby. Jason Kenneth Gamsby. Parthiban A. Mathavan. Curtis St. Bryce. Joan M. Emmett. Michelle Sorrell. Elizabeth Osborne Constant. Matthew Brennan Bacon. Matthew Alphonse Dillon. Heidi J. Schmenk. Shaheen Ali. Nicole Sharon Goldie. Andrea Lynn Dupre. Yvette Christine Kanapka. Allison C. Giroux. Shane Sevier. Timothy W. Furman, Jr. David Desjardins. Michael Halasan Borgonis. Catherine Lourdes Guadalupe Jurado. Alyssa Joelle Schwartz. Laura E. Diodabo. William J. Wewell. Ashley Mary Albini. Abigail Lynn DeMuses. Ashley D. Quito. Jennifer L. Laporte. Gary Michael Rosenfield. Deborah Newell Boston. Christopher McDermott. Henry Scott Williams. Kyle J. Zurenda. Zachary Richard Bester. Gregory John Crowder. Jenna Lynn Novotny Schmidt. John Bernard. Alexandra Shallons Brown. Sundas Saeed. Andrew Michael Nerney. Jason Wyman Balich. William Michael Petty, Jr. Patrick F.S. Noonan. Brendan Michael Keene. David B. Gostigian. Alexander Christian Polasek. Brian Woodruff George. Nicole Francis Seawright. Danielle L. McGee. Cesar Veliu. Anne Elizabeth Breuer. Kelsey Broadmeadow. Andrea Farah. Kristen Sweet. Ankita Gandhi. Elizabeth Carol Abernathy Stone. Stacy Parnow. Ryan William Knudsen. Ryan C. Dacey. Joshua O. Balter. Carolyn M. Colley, accompanied by her brother, Alan, who has foregone his own graduation at the University of Michigan Law School today to be with Carolyn and their family. Christopher Andrews Clark. Sean P. Ingraham. Joseph M. Gibberman. Brett Pereiras. Sam Kaywood. Michael James Ando. Damian K. Gunningsmith. Carla Elizabeth Sitnick. Sarah Eve Keller. Rebecca Lamar. Joshua Astayanix Elliott. Ryan Kleckner. Nicholas R. Harrell. Stephen Russell Loverme III. James R. Freguela. Celeste J. Maynard. Jeanette Nicole Castro. Melissa Ann Yude. Sarah E. Levine. Brittany R. Merlino. C. Maxwell Soley. Stefan Savic. Peter John Graziano. Jesse David Conrad. Edwin M. Hernandez Garcia. Thomas H. Houlihan, Jr. Joshua R. Feldman. Bertram Wynn McDowell, Jr. Daniel L. Garber. Jenna Ordway. Elise Andrea Wilkinson. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the graduating class, the JD candidates of the University of Quinnipiac University School of Law of the class of 2013. Will the class please rise? Mr. President, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the class of 2013.
By the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations to all of you.
Please be seated. At this time in our program, by tradition, the graduating class is addressed by one of the members of the graduating class, and our speaker this year is the president of the SBA, David Norman. David, are you out there, or where's David? There you are. Before you come up, I just wanted to say to the members of the graduating class, the role of the SBA president is sometimes a difficult one, and as the president already alluded to, David just did an extraordinary job. Sometimes it's the job of the SBA president to come tell the dean things the dean may not want to hear, but David, I thought that you represented your classmates and all of the students at the law school with just grace and professionalism and integrity and great judgment, and so I wanted you all to know from my perspective, I think David served you enormously well, and I really appreciate it, so thank you.
Thank you, Dean Saxton, for that warm introduction. For more than a decade, Dean Saxton has provided visionary leadership for this law school, and this is his last commencement as dean. I think I speak on behalf of every member of the graduating class of 2013 when I say that you have left an indelible mark on this law school and particularly on the members of this class, and for that we are so grateful. So, good afternoon, Dean Saxton, President Leahy, Senior Vice President Thompson, Justice Evely, our family, friends, alumni, guests, and most importantly, my classmates in the class of 2013. I'm so humbled to speak on behalf of this creative, brilliant, talented, and energetic group of graduates, and I think that all of us are here today in no small part thanks to the love and support and friendship of so many people in our lives, so many of whom are here this afternoon. And for many of us, first and foremost among those are our mothers. So I'd like to wish a very happy Mother's Day to everyone, particularly my own mother and my grandmother. Happy Mother's Day. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank and recognize the outstanding faculty at this law school. The extraordinary team of professors here at Quinnipiac Law has shaped our minds, our spirits. They've taught us not necessarily the right answers, the absolute end answers. They've taught us how to ask the right questions. They've taught us how to analyze the problem, how to look at the issue. And our faculty includes people like Professor Alexander Mickeljohn, who is so deeply devoted to student learning that he spends his days and nights meeting with students, helping to foster legal reasoning skills in students. Our faculty includes people like Professor Linda Meyer, who is such a warm, insightful, and creative professor who encourages creative thinking in students, supports student writing and scholarship, and is a mentor to me and so many of my classmates. And of course, our faculty includes people like Professor Carrie Cass, whose energetic commitment to experiential learning and externship and clinical programs led to her very well-deserved recognition as this year's Professor of the Year. So on behalf of my fellow students, thank you to the faculty of this law school. You know, it was Yogi Berra who said that it ain't over till it's over. I'm sorry to continue the baseball metaphors here, Justice. People are going to think we planned this ahead, but he said it ain't over till it's over. He was talking about a baseball game, of course, and Yogi was right. A baseball game isn't over until you've gotten at least 27 outs and you're ahead of the opposing team. Well, this game, law school, is undeniably over. We've taken all our final exams. We've handed in our last papers. We've written our last essays. We've pulled our very last all-nighters, at least until the bar. So the ninth inning is now over. So in the next few minutes, I'd like to do two things. First, I'm going to briefly tell you a few highlights of this ball game, and then I'm going to look ahead and provide a very brief, I know you're getting antsy, preview of the next game. First, what were some of the highlights of this game, the one played by our class, the class of 2013? I think to appreciate the highlights, you need to understand what kind of place Quinnipiac University School of Law really is. There's a myth that law school is this kind of stolid, dull, emotionless place where hyper-competitive people study arcane legal theory. Aristotle actually said that the law is reason free from passion. Well, as Elle Woods said in the movie Legally Blonde, no offense to Aristotle, but I have come to believe that passion is a key ingredient to the study and the practice of law. Well, I may not be blonde, I may not even have much hair at all, but that is so true, Elle. In fact, the highlights of our experience at Quinnipiac University School of Law are filled with the passion, the endless energy, the boundless enthusiasm of my classmates. The passion of people like my classmate Danielle McGee, who served both locally and nationally as a leader of the Black Law Students Association, in addition to working with me, Professor Sarah Russell, Professor Linda Meyer, and others on juvenile sentencing reform efforts. The endless energy, and I do mean endless, of people like Christine Gersh, my persistent partner in crime and one of my best friends, who ran the Student Bar Association with me, coordinated Quinnipiac's 2012 ABA Criminal Justice Trial Advocacy Competition, ran the Mentor Program, and still finds time to testify before the Connecticut State Legislature. Or, of course, the boundless enthusiasm of people like Desmond Ryan, who ran the Quinnipiac Law Review as editor-in-chief, served as a law student intern in our appellate defense clinic, served on the Honor Code Committee, and somehow managed to be a friendly, well-adjusted, normal human being, too. So those are but a few examples. A real proper recitation of the highlights of this ball game would be longer than a Yankees-Red Sox game. So those are the highlights of Game 1, law school. But as we all know, baseball has a very long season, 162 games. And although our season, life, will not have as many years as baseball has games, I think we need to look ahead to the next ball game. The challenge ahead, it seems to me, lies in what we make of the rights and the privileges that come with the degree conferred upon us here today. In the years and the decades, indeed the lifetime ahead of us, we'll face choices big and small about how we conduct ourselves, how we carry out our responsibilities. And as much as I like baseball, the choices that we make in this game are bigger than whether we attempt to steal second base or who we send out to the mound in the bottom of the 8th inning. In this ball game, we'll take risks that could affect our clients. We'll make judgments that can help to determine the legal rights of others. And we'll face adversity not when our team loses, but when our clients lose. Now, in the entire history of baseball, no team has ever gone undefeated. And my fellow members of the class of 2013, I don't think that we're going to go undefeated either. I think that we'll probably lose some. We'll probably win some. And we'll learn, I'm sure, that our work ethic, our integrity, our personal satisfaction and happiness matters a lot more than winning or losing. After all, as Grantland Rice wrote, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game that matters. So undoubtedly along the way, we'll come to a fork in the road. That might very well be soon, I'd venture. Perhaps a choice between different litigation strategies, or maybe different career paths, or perhaps a very tough personal decision. And fortunately, Yogi Berra told us exactly what to do under this circumstance. He said, quote, "If you come to a fork in the road, take it." So, my fellow future lawyers in the class of 2013, it's time to make some choices. It's time to take some risks. It's time to face adversity. And when we come to that fork in the road, it's time to take it. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you, David, very much for those great remarks. At this time in the program, you, the graduating class, are addressed by the professor you have chosen as your Professor of the Year. Before I introduce Professor Cass, I just wanted to note on a sad note, a year ago today, our Professor of the Year was Professor David Rosettenstein, who was chosen by last year's graduating class to address them. And as many of you know, some of you might not know, Professor Rosettenstein passed away in February after a long and very courageous battle with cancer. I wanted to mention that here because in his final months, David often came to see me, and I will tell you, you guys were such a source of comfort to him, and he often came in and would share with me a letter or a message that one of you sent to him and talked about how much it meant to him. And he kept teaching as long as he possibly could, and he was so grateful for your many kindnesses and your compassion to him. And Laura Diodabo, who really had devoted a bunch of time to organizing a blood drive that was done in David's memory and David's name this spring. We really appreciate it, but he appreciated all of you enormously, and I want to thank you on behalf of him. And with that, I would like to introduce the Professor of the Year, Professor Carolyn Cass. And I will tell you, as you all know, this is a faculty that is so deep in people who are really effective and really committed teachers, and this is a coveted honor and recognition. It means so much to the professor chosen, and this is a very deserving professor, Professor Carolyn Cass.
This is really cool. Okay. So I want to acknowledge, of course, the podium party, President Leahy, Senior Vice President Thompson, Justice Everly, Dean Saxton, Dean Brown. Where is she? There you are. Hi. Dean DeBeat Brown, trustees, my colleagues, and other members of the platform party. A great big happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and mostly hello, class of 2013. Good to see you. So here's my question for you. What were you thinking? In a school with all of these wise and talented and devoted teachers, moi? I mean, seriously, I have to confess that my actual first thought was, what were you thinking? Especially when it got down to just the three of us. Sandy Micklejohn, I got that. I understand that. Linda Meyer, I definitely got that. I would have understood that. But moi? So, you know, Your Honor really did set me off on an interesting journal of self-exploration, and now I'm going to use the dreaded R word, reflection, as I tried to actually understand just what were you thinking? Why? But first, I am going to answer that question, I think, but I need to say a few personal words. Let me say some words of gratitude and about gratitude. I learned something recently from a very wise man. He was talking about how the regular expression of gratitude is part of what makes us truly happy in life. And he encouraged a group of us recently to write letters of gratitude, and it's a practice that I have taken to heart. That wise man is sitting among you today. So my very first expression of gratitude is to Michael Bavona for helping me realize, first and foremost, the importance of gratitude. I hope I do you justice, Mike. My second bit of gratitude is to you, my dear class. You couldn't have known that this was a particularly special year for me in so many ways, so to earn this honor this year is really quite incredible. You couldn't have known that this was the year I would personally hit my 30-year anniversary of graduating from law school, which is reason enough alone to pause and take stock and think about when it's time to go watch the sunsets in Florida for the rest of my life. But this honor also gave me reason to drag my family here with me today, to be with me on Mother's Day, and that's a treat. You see, I have spent the last 24 Mother's Day at law school graduations, which has been a really interesting reality check for me, forcing me to really split my time between my real kids and my law school kids in a way that's really quite symbolic of the balance that I have tried to strive in my life. I never missed a graduation, and I always rushed right home to try and get as much of the day as possible with my own kids. And let me pause to say that what I try and do is measure my career milestones in terms of my marriage and the birth and age of my 3 kids. At times, they might have thought I had it backwards and I was measuring their lives by the milestones in my career, but I definitely tried to put them first. The fact of the matter is, I know exactly how long ago I started law school, precisely because I know that 33 years ago I married Glenn Cass, the love of my life. And then I promptly quit my job and made him support me while I went to law school. But it's okay, because then I put him through law school. And I know that I graduated from law school exactly 30 years ago because I had my 4-month-old daughter, Allison, in my arms as I graduated, and I know she is 30. Now, Allison is also a member of the law school class of '09, which, by the way, was the only other time I managed to get my whole family here on Mother's Day for graduation. I know it was 27 years ago that I was moving from my clerkship to my big firm job, because that's how old my son Michael is. Apparently I kept getting pregnant at about the most important career milestones. And finally, I know it was 24 years ago when I left the firm to come teach law, because that's how old Emily is, and I interviewed for my job while I was on maternity leave. Emily, by the way, will be a member of the Quinnipiac class of 2016, because she starts here as a 1L this fall. So there they are. So to my family, I do want to express my gratitude. That's my theme, my gratitude to all of you for understanding that this job has become my life's work, my calling, my other passion, and that you have let me make room in my heart each year for hundreds of law students who will mean the world to me. And to my students, my word to the wise for you is, please remember to try and remember the significant dates in your lives of your family, and then measure your career off of them, not the other way around. And, dear class of 2013, you also couldn't have known that this year I turned 58. Well, maybe you could if you looked at my driver's license, but I doubt it you did. But 58 for me has been an immensely significant birthday. Today on Mother's Day, I pause to think of my own mother, Carolyn Serby Williams, a World War II Army nurse who then became a surgical head nurse at St. Raphael's right up the street and worked there in my youth. But she died of cancer when she was 57 and I was only 21. So my 58th birthday has really loomed quite large for me. And as I finally passed the point of being how old my mother was when she died, I finally have been flooded with gratitude, again, Michael, gratitude, to be healthy, to have a fulfilling career, a wonderful family. Soon that will include 2 grandchildren. And on this day and every day since I turned 58, I wake up grateful just to be alive. And with all the loss we've experienced here at this law school this year, it's been a tough year. I'm just happy to be alive. But enough with gratitude for a minute. Let me return to my thoughts about my question, you know, the one, what were you thinking? And let me tell you something Bob Farrell told me 24 years ago when I was a new young professor, and he was already very experienced. By that, you know what I mean. He's a lot older than I am. Maybe not. But anyway, there is a secret to becoming Professor of the Year. Now, you might expect that it might have to do with being very well prepared and a creative, devoted teacher, you know, like how to teach tax the way Mary Ferrari does, or trusts and estates like Jeff Cooper, or administrative law like Jen Herbst, or maybe, seeing as it was Farrell telling me this secret, that it would be to be funny and cultivate a sense of humor. Possibly, and in fact I have tried to do that. Or maybe it was that he was really going to tell me that I had to learn to sing Irish songs like he does. You know, badly. But actually it turned out to be quite simple. He said to me, Professor Cass, and apparently he told Kevin Barry this just the other day too, by the way. So we got your number. But anyway, here's what he said to me. Professor Cass, you have to teach big classes with lots of students so they get to know you when they vote for you. Yep, that was it. That was the sage advice I got from Professor Farrell. So, as you might want to know, for the next 20 years of my teaching career, after Bob first told me that, I completely ignored his advice. And I continued to teach civil clinic with 8 to 10 devoted, wonderful students each semester. Some of you may not even know that that's what I was doing before you guys got here. In all seriousness though, this stage, this 20-year stage, was an extremely important part of my career because I finally learned how to be a teacher, but I also actually, frankly, learned how to be a lawyer in the clinic. Yeah, I'd been out of practice 6 years when I started teaching here, but I went to law school, you remember, way back then, at a time when they never bothered to teach us about clients or interviewing or counseling or negotiation or mediation. Heck, we barely had trial practice. It was all about appellate law. And another serious note is that one of my proudest accomplishments in 24 years of teaching, other than my students, is the extent to which I have really dedicated my career to improving legal education by adding contextual problem solving, by interweaving the understanding of how law is used in real life and providing opportunities for you get to practice to be a lawyer, actually even before you graduate. But anyway, back to my quest to win Professor of the Year. A few years ago, I finally did take Bob Farrell's advice. So it was about a year or so before you all started law school, and here's where I just want to put in another personal footnote. That would be for everyone except you, Josh Balter, Mr. Fifth Year of Law School. Where are you, Josh? Where are you sitting? There you are. Actually, for those of you who don't know Josh that well, that's because he's been serving in the U.S. Navy for most of law school. Had to do many of his years at Rutgers. So we thank you for your service, Josh. Enjoyed that retirement and your second career, and I really look forward to watching you flourish. But so anyway, you were the only one around back then when I switched over to the externships and took over the field placement part of our clinical courses. And finally, I had the privilege of teaching 40 to 80 students every semester. And that didn't count all the other courses. Yep, I finally had those big numbers. But I also had all of you spread all over the darn state, all doing completely different things, all on different schedules. And as you know, I have spent the last few years running around like a proverbial chicken with my head cut off. So how the heck was I actually supposed to learn to teach anything meaningful? How could I make our classroom a true term of art that I like is site of cohesion, where I could actually begin to learn and help you learn? It was actually a challenging question and rather perplexing. But then I realized I did have something going for me that sets me apart from every other professor on this stage. I realized I didn't have to make you actually read any cases or read any statutes. And that would make me so popular. I pulled it off. No, I think I made you all read one case, Beverly Hills Concepts. But anyway, at first I felt really bad about this, that I could rely on all the other professors and all the site mentors out in the field to be the bad guys and make you do all that boring law stuff. And so, was it just that I was campaigning to be Professor of the Year that I would bring chocolate to class and ask you to find, and this was one of my assignments, I'm almost afraid to let them know what it is, but where you had to find the common feature between a candy bar and your fears and hopes for your externship placement? Remember that one? Well, actually, I think I was asking you to do a different kind of very hard stuff, to tell me about your feelings. Feelings, feelings, emotions. In fact, I bet that you're all sitting there sweating right now, hoping that I will not use this podium for one final opportunity to either make you do a role play, look at a film clip, or heaven forbid, break you into small groups to discuss your thoughts and emotions and then report it back to the whole large group, right? I actually did think about doing that, and I thought it would have been really entertaining. But I won't. But just for old time's sakes, I did bring you some chocolate. Seriously. I did. Where's that chocolate? I'm not kidding. one more piece of chocolate on me. Actually, you guys can just pass it. They know how to do this. You don't have to pass it around. Just give them the bag. They'll handle it. Anyway, back to my challenge of figure out what exactly is the job when you take over the externship program. And here's what I came up with. I'm a guide. I'm your coach. I'm the person who helps you find your own path. And then I'm your fellow traveler on your journey of becoming a lawyer. It may sound hokey, but frankly, I think it's one of the greatest jobs. I get to ask you questions not like what was the holding of that case, but rather, who do you want to be? Now, what's hardest for you? And then, how can I craft an experience for you where you will have to confront these very fears and challenges, hopefully every day, and torture you with that? How are you going to integrate who you are as a human with who you are as a lawyer so that those terms are not mutually exclusive? How will you craft your future to use your skills for justice? What is justice anyway? And here's my personal favorite, what makes you happy? This is all stuff not found in a book, not found on a computer, although some of you seem to think it was because you had your laptops up the whole time, but anyway. This is stuff that is only inside of you. It's in your head. It's in your hands. And yes, here's the words that we really shouldn't wait for graduation to mention for the first time. It's in your hearts. I have learned that my best teaching materials have always been right in front of me. They are you. I often describe my job as going around and holding up a mirror to each of you and helping you figure out just exactly what you're seeing in that mirror. And thinking about that made me realize that I possess just the right inspiring quotes for a commencement speech. No internet speech for me, and sorry, no baseball. Sorry. So you know what I did? I pulled out your reflection papers. Yeah, I'm about to read you a few. Without identifying who wrote these pearls and with only a little bit of editing to assure anonymity, I want to share with you just a small sample of the incredible things that I get to read every single week. Now, I cut it down to only 4. It really could have been 100. But, you know, those little finger sandwiches are calling at the reception, so we got to get you out of here. But here's 4, written by people sitting in the chairs in front of me. I now feel less like a law student and more like a person ready to practice law because I no longer work only for someone else's stamp of approval. Sometimes it is the ability to survive, struggling through something in order to overcome a challenge. I now know that I can be the kind of lawyer I want to be, but I also know that it means working harder to get there, and that's okay with me. And here's another words of wisdom to live by. I've been thinking about the awesome power, and this one actually, I think Justice Everly will particularly enjoy. So let me go back to it. I have been thinking about the awesome power that we have as lawyers, and I now hate the idea of winning at the expense of someone else. I don't want to measure myself only by a record of wins and losses. I understand that winning can show preparedness and skill, but this isn't a fantasy football league. One can't find true justice if we are just shooting for the high record of wins. Just 2 more. I now appreciate the value of continuous learning, to use each and every experience that I encounter to internalize some lesson about the law or about life that will further my development as a lawyer and as a man. Recently, I heard an excellent lawyer talk about the burden of advocacy. It is one thing to advocate, to argue or discuss law and facts, but it is entirely something else to be an advocate, to assume the yoke of a client's expectations and hopes. Learning how to deal with the burden of that expectation is something I hope to handle as the dawn of my legal career approaches. And finally, different clients might need different kinds of tasks from their lawyers. But the one thing that does not change is the lawyer's devotion to do the right thing. I do realize that holding myself to this standard will be a difficult road, but I believe that one should strive to be the best he can be. I have a long road ahead of me, and I feel solace in how I am choosing to travel this long road. So you can see why it makes me happy to travel the road with you. It's a privilege, which brings me right back to my gratitude. I am grateful and that you all recognize that those atypical things I do, including with Play-Doh in the last externship class, anyway, that all that stuff actually constitutes teaching. Yes, teaching happens in the classroom, but it also happens in the quiet moments, the frenetic moments, the joyful moments, the tearful moments that have happened in my office, that have happened in courthouses, the law offices, agency offices, and all the other places where I toiled to find just the right placement for each and every one of my students. I am grateful, very grateful, that you see me as a person who sets expectations, then collaborates with you to adopt notions of who you are as emerging professionals, and then I hold you accountable for those behaviors. I'm especially grateful that you have recognized and appreciate what is really my biggest teaching secret of all, that my relationship with you is exactly analogous to how I hope you will be as lawyers with your clients and with your colleagues. Respectful, empathic, brave enough to tell the truth, courageous enough to be different, working hard to get it right for each and every person as an individual. So I thank you deeply for your recognition, which will give me the energy time and time again in the future to take on the demanding role that's right for me at this wonderful law school, and to thank you for clearly seeing what I kind of lost sight of for a second. I am a professor of law because I teach you how to be lawyers. I mean, somebody has to, right? Really. So my final words for you are, be grateful, be great. And remember, I really love you guys.
Thank you, Carrie. That concludes our ceremony for this afternoon. I'd like to take just a moment before this happens and give all the rest of us here, faculty and family, a chance to applaud you guys one last time. Congratulations, class of 2013. We now have our festivities reception up at the top there at the Student Center, just right up the hill to the place that looks sort of like a ski lodge, and it's lots of good refreshments there. If I could ask everybody to please stand, I'll be inviting Reverend Hugh Vincent Dyer to do the benediction, and I ask you to remain standing while the platform party recesses. Thank you.
Peace be with you. Almighty and ever-living God, Lord and giver of life, most just of all judges, who has inscribed in our hearts the supreme law of love, bless these new doctors of law abundantly with virtues, with the virtue of justice tempered by mercy, with the virtue of persevering sacrifice for the common good, and with gratitude for the sacrifices that have made their lives possible. Through them, may the light of truth shine in darkness, and may paths of peace be forged in the midst of chaos through just law. Until we stand before you, in your holy name we pray. Amen.